Director at Museum Director?
I am the director, Bill.
Okay. Anna D'Ambrosio is from Munson Williams. I'm really excited about this show. And we're talking about Steve McCurry and his incredible photos. And despite the controversy, I almost think with the controversy, I'm even more excited about it because it's in
right, it drives you to want to see the photos, doesn't it? Absolutely.
It is in the news. So let's talk about this controversy. It really didn't exist until just a few days ago or a few weeks ago. It's really kind of blown up.
We've been planning this exhibition for about 3 years, and we've worked directly with the McCurry studio to refine these photographs to represent our refugee and immigrant community as much as we could.
Yeah.
And then just a few weeks before the show opened, there's a little bit of a controversy about a few Steve McCurry images that have been documented to have been altered before. Kind of a little bit of a before and after.
In the very beginning, he seemed to say they weren't altered. And then photo investigators, or the people online, began to take, somehow they got a hold of the originals, and they were able to show, in some cases, people were taken out. Maybe eyes were bluer than they really were. It's those sort of touch-up type things that they're charging.
There's a couple things. I mean, there are a few images where clearly they were altered by McCurry or somebody in his studio, as he says, where people were taken out of the photos, and even in one case, a horse-drawn or person-drawn vehicle. But, what I haven't seen online is anybody putting this controversy into a greater historical context, because we have this certain expectation of what we want from photojournalism.
Right.
And Steve McCurry has made a very strong statement distinguishing his art photography from his photojournalism. And when you look back in history and we think that we can always rely on a photograph, it's so famous photographers from Ansel Adams, Matthew Brady, they have all altered their images.
Who did the photo of the Paris kiss, the famous post-World War II?
I don't know the photographer offhand.
Now, that came out maybe 5 or 10 years ago, that was a posed photo. Everyone thought that was just a snapshot taken out of time. Yet it was a setup,
right.
and that was done back in 1945.
Right, and you think about the beautiful landscapes of Ansel Adams, for example. I mean, he couldn't digitally alter photos, obviously, but he could work in the darkroom to enhance the sky. Matthew Brady's studio, really famous for the Civil War photographs. There's one produced in his studio called I think it's Devil's Den. And it's supposed to be a sharpshooter at Gettysburg. And the photographer actually dragged the dead body into position and photographed it. But then it became this great call to arms during the Civil War. So it's been going on for a long time.
Then there was the one photo that was completely staged. And this was the one in India where there were suitcases and they were showing poor versus wealthy. I'm assuming that photo is part of the display. At the very least, it is one of Steve McCurry's photos. And they're saying that the suitcases were actually brought in. That was a staged photo.
Right. I believe it's not in the exhibition. I believe from what I've read, that photo, he was doing a series on rail transportation, and he needed some people on the tracks. But again, he's not saying something about what's going on. It's not a falsehood in what it is reporting, the story that it's telling, I guess is a good way to put it. And the beautiful thing about Steve McCurry's large-scale and really stunning, vivid photographs is they tell great stories.
Tell great stories, no doubt about it. I was speaking to one photojournalist who was appalled by this, very bothered. But at the end of it, said, the photography is just incredible.
They're phenomenal images.
Beautiful photography you'll see. But photojournalists tend to take issue with it. But his work is just incredible. And that photo of the Afghan...
Afghan girl?
It's just... It was
Sharbart Gula is her name.
National Geographic cover. It was just an incredible photo.
And that photo...
It jumps out at you.
Right. And that photo in and of itself, is one of the most important photos of the 20th century. It has been labeled one of the most iconic photos of the 20th century. And it told a story. It made the war in Afghanistan real to people who hadn't been paying attention to it up until that point.
Andrew.
So we had a caller call up talking about Ansel Adams and the Zono system, which he was famous for manipulating the black and white photos. Somebody just wanted to
Want to bite on that
weigh in
one?
with that.
All right.
Well,
Okay.
I think it's just to show that photographers they alter their photos. I mean,
Yeah.
they want them to tell a story. They want them to represent the best possible image that they can.
Well, and there's something this photographer I was speaking with also felt that technology has just completely changed the world, because the average person now can get on their Facebook, take a photo, add this filter, this magic filter, and all of a sudden it looks like something that's been taken by a professional photographer. It makes it very difficult for those that really work, those photographers that treat this as an art form. Now just anybody can kind of go out there and take photos and doctor them up a little bit.
They do, but nobody can match the professional photographer.
Yeah.
I mean, these photos of India and Thailand, Afghanistan, Nepal, Burma, I mean, they're just stunning. They're some of the most sacred places in the world. It also shows a commonality of the human experience. It relates a lot to our important refugee community here in Utica as well.
Okay, so talk about that, how this really is important for us. There was recently a story that was done, some blogger that talked about stay clear of Utica, New York, because it's the home of refugees. There are more refugees there, more crime, ... Just painted this horrible picture. What the real picture is, though, is refugees have been, through our history and today, have played a huge role, and this community has welcomed them, just the Muslim population, the Bosnian population, how we've welcomed those people and how they've just everybody's fit right in, and it's worked here.
It seems to me it's definitely working. I mean, they have the influx of people has stabilized Utica. They're making our city a more diverse and interesting place to live. I mean, people talk about Utica as a city that loves refugees, and I certainly see that again and again in so many examples. Munson Williams, we have special programs where we work with the refugee community, both kids and adult students doing English as a second language.
Tom, you're on the radio on photojournalism. Go ahead.
Well, we've had some greats here in Utica, folks like Daddy Tranquilli, Leo Hobaika, and the OD has got some great shooters now. In the past, when we were shooting with a speed graphic or a double-stroke Leica M3 with film, it was quite a bit more difficult. But, you had to have the eye. Mm-hmm. You had to have a nose for news, and you had to get your basic shot. You have to be, on point all the time if you're on assignment. You have to be looking for the shot. You have to know where it is, and you have to get it. Now today, with the machine guns that the people have, that the modern multi-shot, motor drive, autofocus, auto exposure cameras that they have, you have a lot greater chance of getting a salable image. Yeah. Than you did in the past. So that puts the greatness of the old folks into
well, and then
focus.
And then Tom, you add the filters now that are these magic filters that just work wonders. Go ahead.
Well, there's one image of a flower seller in India, one of my favorite images in the McCurry exhibition. And Steve McCurry talks about how he rode in that boat with that flower seller every day for 2 weeks before he got the perfect image.
Amen.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Absolutely. I've been on assignment for several days. I was up for USA Today at the Salmon River, and I went through, and I thought this was a rather economical shoot as it was. I went through 11 rolls of film,
wow,
36 shots a roll, to get one photograph that USA Today used. And you had on the other side of the equation, you don't just have the individual who shoots the shots. You have the editor who selects the photographs.
Right.
And that editor picked a shot that I could have done if they had instructed me correctly in what they wanted, or if I had known the way that the editor was thinking. Mm-hmm. I could have walked in there and shot that shot in 15 seconds of arrival on the scene, and saved 2 to 3 days of work standing in the middle of the Salmon River, with 1,100 cubic feet a second of water around my feet.
It does show you. It really does show you what work goes into not only taking the shot, but then selecting the shot. Tom, thanks for the input there.
And I'm looking forward to taking more photographs of the local area too.
Right.
Take care of yourself.
We'll be
Bye-bye.
looking forward to seeing those photos. And speaking of the photos, this exhibit is on for how long?
It's on through December 31st.
Okay.
We also have another smaller exhibition in conjunction with Steve McCurry called Portraits of Hope, Faces of Refugee Resettlement in Central New York. And it's about 30 or so images of just refugees from our region, captured, and refugees representing a really broad range of people and ages, to take the Steve McCurry themes and actually bring them home to our own area.
Yeah. It's interesting. If you you're driving through parts of East Utica, all of a sudden you come upon a refugee that is that clearly is new to here. The clothing style, very colorful. I'm thinking maybe Burmese, and the churches that are built, and it brings me back to when I was a kid in the Jordanville area, riding my bike at like 8 years old and coming across a monk. Mm-hmm. It was quite a shocking moment for me, but it's an amazing experience that I think that you only normally get in the big major cities, but we get that here, and I think that's a positive.
It absolutely is. And, there's a lot of great community centers in the city, like Midtown Utica Community Centers, working with refugees. And, of course, the Refugee Center, which is right across the street from Munson Williams, does such a phenomenal job.
All right, so times and all of that. Give us the information on the this McCurry, which, by the way, is right in the middle of the news right now. Perfect timing for you guys to have it.
We're always want to be timely.
Yeah, you're right on it. So times for people, obviously.
So we're open Tuesday through Thursday from 10 till 5. Mm-hmm. On Fridays, we're open till 8 p.m., so 10 till 8. Saturdays 10 to 5 and Sundays 1 to 5. The exhibition is on view through December 31st, but don't wait. There's a lot of interactives. It's a great time. It's a great opportunity to show some beautiful photography, teach your kids about other cultures. There are interactives for the kids. There's audios that you can listen to Steve McCurry talk about his images. You can listen to someone teach you about photojournalism. It's just a great interactive exhibition with phenomenal photos that you can't see anyplace else. This exhibition is exclusive to Munson Williams.
Pretty awesome. All right. Thank you so much for coming in and talking
You're
about
welcome.
it. And just like the time I said, hey, we're going to be able to see that Andy Warhol thing. We'll get there. We're going to see the exhibit. We'll do it next week, and then next week, and then
it was gone. You can't wait.
It was gone. So don't let that happen. Quick break. Come right back. Christine has news next in 2 minutes on WIBX.